what we have done is created a dollar shortage in the country. At a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March, I outlined the strategy. It came to a swift and I would say grand culmination in December when one of the largest banks in Iran went under. There was a run on the bank. The central bank had to print money. The Iranian currency went into free fall. Inflation exploded, and hence we have seen the Iranian people out on the street.
The United States is accused of fueling the unprecedented mass protests that recently shook Iran, an allegation long made by Tehran and now backed by a striking admission from Washington. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent acknowledged that Treasury actions triggered a dollar crisis in Tehran, igniting widespread fury on the streets. That economic shockwave, he said, unleashed massive public anger against Iran's leadership, with outrage squarely aimed at Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In a shocking testimony before the Senate Economics Committee on February 4th, Bessent said that the U.S. created a dollar shortage in Iran. One of Iran's largest banks went bankrupt as Iran's central bank had to print money. This led to the collapse of the Iranian Rial, soaring inflation, triggering protests.
I appreciate the maximum pressure strategy that President Trump has gone back to. I'd like to ask you, what more can we be doing as we see us place pressure on the Ayatollah, who is no friend of the United States of America, and as we see what he is doing to the citizens of his own country and the streets? What more can we be doing to make sure that we are placing the pressure that we need to on the greatest state sponsor of terrorism, and that is the Ayatollah and Iran?
Well, what we could do at Treasury, and what we have done is created a dollar shortage in the country. At a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March, I outlined the strategy. It came to a swift and I would say grand culmination in December when one of the largest banks in Iran went under. There was a run on the bank. The central bank had to print money. The Iranian currency went into free fall. Inflation exploded, and hence we have seen the Iranian people out on the street. We will continue monitoring all the partners, all the Iranian partners. The good news, Senator, is that we have seen, and we can see it with our fencing, we have seen the Iranian leadership wiring money out of the country like crazy. So the rats are leaving the ship, and that is a good sign that they know the end may be near.
In late December, Iran witnessed one of its biggest internal crises in years. What began as a small protest on December 27, 2025, over high prices and economic stagnation had spread to other parts of the Shiite nation. By January 8th, the demonstrations escalated in scale. Behind it was instigated by Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's son, who was overthrown in 1979. Several videos had shown protesters chanting, "Until the mullah is shrouded, this homeland will not be free," and "Mullahs must leave Iran," an apparent term used for Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And then comes a warning from U.S. President Donald Trump. He had threatened strikes if Iranian authorities were ordered to open fire on protesters.
How long do you think the Ayatollah will be in power after what we've seen play out on the ground there? When is the U.S. going to get involved now that reports of protesters being killed on the ground?
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So we don't want that to happen. There have been cases like this where President Obama totally backed down. But this is something pretty incredible that's happening in Iran. It's an amazing thing to watch. They've done a bad job. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back. So let's see what happens. We're watching it. We're watching it very closely.
On January 11th comes the biggest warning from Trump. He said the American military is actively studying very strong options for Iran.
Well, no, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it, and we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination.
But on January 12th, Iranian leadership announced that the situation had been brought under control, and 2 days later, they declared an end to the unrest. According to Iranian authorities, more than 3,000 people died during the protests. But attack rhetoric from Trump did not stop. It still continues. The unrest is over, and the focus now shifted to Iran's nuclear program. Trump is pressuring Iran to sign a nuclear deal or else face military confrontation.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That has often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out Tehran.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.